This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can pick up some right now online at txbrewing.com. Join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club. Be a part of the community and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Is yeast dumping necessary? Measuring carbonation levels and using electric all-in-ones for brewing and fermenting in. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 321. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions, and sometimes we discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com. Click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call. Get yourself a $25 gift card when you leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by my co-host. He is the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Carlson. My friend, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Mr. Todd Burns is not in today. He just got out of surgery. They did the disc replacement in his neck. Oh, I thought I was fading the music out. There it goes. Okay. He, and I have, I told him I was going to use this photo as the stand-in for him while he's here. So, hey guys, surgery went well. I feel good. Da, 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 da. Do you remember the first surgery he had? It was when we launched our Patreon, and he gave us a photo of him coming out of the surgery center with the neck brace and the thumbs up.
Right.
I like this one so much better. I got to find a way to use it now on the show. He's on, I think he's on Dilaudid right now, which, hardcore narcotic.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm going to ask for a raise. I'm going to ask for a lot of stuff right now. I'm just like, hey, boss man, glad you're feeling good. So I was talking. No, I am glad he's good. I know.
Yeah.
He doesn't take this kind of stuff serious, but it is a major they went in, they totally took out the fusion This is what, according to his doctor, to Liz, to then me. They went in and they unfused or did whatever to the thing that didn't work last time, and then they did the disc replacement. So that's pretty hardcore. It was like a 3-hour procedure, I believe. He's got a nice little entry wound. I won't zoom in on the photo, but I imagine he's going to be. He made it seem like before surgery that he's going to be back at work next week. Do you think that's possible? I don't think it's physically.
Yeah, I actually the way they're doing stuff now, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Really,
he'll definitely be working. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he meant in the office.
Home, but
yeah, no, I know he can't stay away from work that long, but he implied he'd be in the office. Like, yeah, probably next week, end of week. Like, how? Because I'm supposed to come up next week, and
right.
I was gonna wait to see how he felt through the weekend. Because he's staying, it was in the DFW area. He's staying there this night. I was going to call him tomorrow. I'm letting him rest. And to ask about, hey, what do you think? Because when I come up, he likes to be available if we need to record like videos or when we meet about vendor stuff or whatever. But if he's out of commission, I can still get stuff done. I don't need you, Todd Burns, in my life. But so I don't know when I'm coming up next week, but that is the plan. But yeah, I mentioned that Todd's missing, and we're happy that the surgery went well. Boss man, if you're watching this, my impression of you is more spot on. I've gotten feedback than my impression of the British, which I'm never going to do again on the show. Till we go to Homebrew Con and we hang out with the Muntins crew. They're going to teach me. I don't know if you saw that email thread. They promised they would get me on the right track so I don't sound like some caricature of a Victorian styled English person. I'll work on that. Impressions are normally my thing, but not for foreign accents. I will work on that. I pledge to be better. Anyway, I'm going to keep the small talk kind of short, even though I have a digression to do. I'll do it after this. So, this month, I am so excited. Let me put on the screen. Boom! For the monthly recipe for our Trub Club. It is a delicious Köln Kolsch. I cannot wait to get these in your hands. We're brewing a Kolsch this month. And it is obviously, you see all the sponsors' logos there. The grains are provided from our good friends at Muntins. Delicious hops from our friends at Hops Direct, and the best yeast on the market. We've been saying that since before they were a sponsor, but the best yeast on the market from Imperial Yeast. This kit is delicious. It's tried and true. We have so many people, James, who reach out and go, I've never had a Kolsch in my life before listening to the show, never thought about brewing one, and it's now my favorite style. I need to
get good session beer to have,
isn't it? It is.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what I should solicit, and I'll give y'all Todd's money. He's not here. He can't fight me on this. I want a bunch of feedback of just people who love Kolsch. In one episode, when Todd comes back, I'm going to surprise him and play like 180 voicemails of just like, Josh is right. Kolsch is the best. Beep. I'm just going to get a Kolsch army. We had a voicemail last week or 2 shows ago where the guy was talking about how he's been listening since before I was on a Kolsch kick, and it was all breakfast stout. My friend, I haven't given up on breakfast stout. That's one of my favorite things to have on tap. My pop and I still have some from this year's batch. Do you have any left, or you went through that keg, didn't you?
No, I still have some.
Oh yeah, I love how that batch turned out. It's delicious. It's very it's a lot more coffee forward than years past have been, in my opinion. My dad thinks I'm wrong, but we have a little bit left of other batches that I've told my pop we should do a taste test. Let's do a side by side and compare them, because that is a style that I don't think gets bad with time. If anything, it ages well. So. So yeah, I'm still on that kick too. It's just Kolsch is king in my life right now. So with that being said too, so yeah, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour if you want to brew with us, because exciting news. I have it finally working. It is working on screen. Kolsch Cup is back. We are so excited. You can go to kolschcup.com to look at the details. Registration for it starts Monday, March 13th. That's in a couple days, assuming you're listening to this the day we publish it. Monday, March 13th, go to kolschcup.com. The registration form will be there. We are limiting it to 40 entries. There's going to be 4 judges, me, James, Todd, and my pop has agreed.
That's so cool.
I believe, James, you said the 3rd weekend of May is out, so we're doing it the 4th weekend of May is the plan now. The plan now.
Yeah, my baby girl is
graduating. Yeah. You gotta be there.
graduating.
You gotta be there. I get it. I know
Yeah.
you like your kid. I maybe I'll start liking mine when they get that age. But we are doing it the last weekend of May. All the details about besides registration, all the details are at kolschcup.com. So prepare yourself. People in our Trub Club are going to get 50% off their entry fee. And I know people are going to call or write in or comment and go, but last Kolsch Cup in 2021, Patreon members got it for free. Shipping went up like 40% since then, guys. We're just covering. I promise you, I did the math. That's why last week I didn't have all the details up. We are just covering like to get the shirts made is expensive and the trophy. This is not a money-making endeavor. I will also be transparent and say I'm super stoked about getting a ton of Kolsch sent to us again. So that's my agenda. My agenda is getting to drink a lot of Kolsch. Money making, this is not it. Last time, though, we actually lost some money. And Todd, after we recorded, because I made up a number like $80-something, and he was like, bro, it was a lot more than that we it was a lot more. And I was like, oh, okay. That's depressing. So we're just trying to make sure it's covered, because even the shirt that our friend there in town, you name it, I got a quote from him, and he's probably the best price. That went up too. Everything's going up, James. Everything's going up. It's and it was just single color on black shirts like it was last time. Everything's going up. I blame COVID still. Is that still a thing? Are we still blaming COVID for everything?
I'm sure some people are.
Yeah, some people. Yeah. So for the recipe, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Obviously, you don't have to brew our Kolsch to enter. I believe the last winner, Brian, did his own recipe, just came up with it. But some people did. Some people did use our Kolsch, and we have no real way of telling because there's so many factors that can go into how your Kolsch ends up. But if you want a very good foundational place to start, join our Trub Club. Get this recipe shipped to you, brew it, send it to us in May, and maybe you'll win and get the grand trophy. Again, kolschcup.com for the details if you want to see what the judging card looks like. And then on March 13th, you can register if you're so inclined, and you can pay at the point of registration. I think we're going to be able to get that to work. Otherwise, I'll immediately email you a PayPal invoice and get you squared away and all that. But also, I don't have the thing up on the screen because all my buttons are taken up. But HomebrewCon registration is open. If you're going to HomebrewCon, send us a message. Let us know. You can come watch us, obviously, give our talk. Or if you just want to hang out. Or if you're in San Diego and you have no interest at all in going to HomebrewCon, but you still want to hang out, let us know the good breweries in that area by, what is the name of the resort? The Town and Something Resort? Oh, man.
I've been there. I stayed there.
I didn't know that, but it's apparently renowned. Like it's known.
It's a Hotel Del Sol, I believe.
Whatever.
At one time, it was the world's largest wooden hotel. It's even got a shopping center underneath it.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's supposed to be. And the pictures that Todd showed looks beautiful, and they're having the conference there, and we're staying there. So, if you're going to be in the area and you want to hang out, let us know. We're going to be at the Muntins booth a lot. I haven't heard from Imperial yet if they're going to have a booth. And then I don't know if Hops Direct is going to be there with a booth or whatever. We're going to make the rounds. And obviously we're giving a talk as well on serving your draft beer and all that goes into that. So my last one, I promise, James, I'll be quick because I know you got things to do. I am soliciting. Hey guys, I'm totally abusing my power of audience because we have tens of people who listen to the show. I, as a bald man, if you're bald, what razor do you use? I have this electric razor. I'll put it in the show notes. It is killing the back of my neck, James. It looks like somebody with nails just clawed me. It's happened twice now in 5 weeks. I'm done. It's getting a really good close shave. I got it off Amazon, but the back of my neck, I can't operate like this. And I won't show y'all what it looks like because it sucks. So if you're a bald guy that listens to the show, let me know. I followed the directions. The first one, it said you could do it dry, so I did. I followed the grain of my hair growth, and it still just cut me up bad. The second time, I lathered up. I did it in the shower. Everyone said that'll help. Do that, and no, it's still cutting me up. Am I doomed? Am I going to just always have a sensitive neck? What do you do? Or maybe I should go razor. I don't know, but I'm learning to operate as a bald man, and life is just difficult. But so yeah, I was quick. Small talk's done in record time. Let us go. This week is a special week because it's time for listener feedback. Not only do we have listener feedback, we have a double feature of listener feedback. I took 2 voicemails. The first one is from our buddy Johnny from West Virginia. The second one is from our buddy Kurt. Both of them are low-tech tips and hints for determining keg levels.
This is Johnny from West Virginia. I was calling with some listener feedback about the low-tech ways to keep track of how much beer is in your keg. If you go to like Amazon, you can pick up these things called tally counters for like less than $10. And if you actually remember to push the button every time you pour beer and you're using the same size glass, it actually works out pretty well. Because, you know, you're using a pint glass, you get to 35 on the counter, then you know you only got, you know, maybe 4 more pours left. But that's all I got. Thanks, fellas. Bye.
That's a great idea.
That is a great idea. And like you said, you have to be disciplined. I know Todd and I have gotten ourselves in undisciplined states before. That's the nice way of saying drunk. And to where we might forget. But I like it because he's right. I'll put it in the show notes. It's like a 6-pack for like $11 of these little tally counters. You can have one on each tap and just... But then also second feedback, our buddy Kurt, he didn't say where he's from, but he did name drop his Instagram. I didn't edit that out.
Hello, guys. Some feedback on the keg question. This is Kurt. I'm on Instagram as fermentation.adventures, shameless plug. But I've always had good luck just using a hanging scale. You know, what most people have is a luggage scale. You know, most people have a luggage scale, especially if you have a keezer, you can pop the top open, you know, hook it onto the keg somehow safely so it doesn't fly open and just get a weight. And if you know what those keg weighed before, you should get a pretty good idea. I've also saw, you know, things like these magnets, like a floating magnet that, you know, can float in the beer in the keg and has a little, you know, another magnet on the outside, which is pretty inexpensive, but not something I've used. But anyway, thanks a lot for taking the feedback. Love the show. Bye.
Thank you, Kurt, for the feedback. Yes, I was going to say, I remember for a short period of time, Todd carried those the balls, the floating magnet that then had.
I don't guess I can follow that. So there's a magnet that floats inside the keg. Yeah. And is there something on the outside?
Yep. Todd's were like these little beads, magnet beads that stuck with it. So when they connected, obviously that kept the floating ball from kind of venturing inward of the keg. But I don't recall what, like Todd got a sample of it. I don't know why we never sold them. I don't know if he used it. Obviously he's not here to say, well, what the problem was. I have no idea, but they're cheap.
So we had those on the website.
No. That's what I'm saying. He got a sample from a vendor to carry it. And I don't know ultimately why he ended up not carrying it. It could have been very well what happens a lot of the times. We let it fall through the cracks of our inbox. Yeah. And that could have very well been what happened.
Yeah, no doubt. That's probably what happened.
Yeah. But the hanging scale one is, I know that the ones he's talking about, that's interesting. If you could set up a easy way to do it, because then you could just do it keg by keg. You know what I mean? Like as opposed to some people who use either that Play-Doh device or just old school scales, you're either pulling it out and put it on one scale or you're buying a scale for every keg you have. That can add up. Yeah. But you know, we appreciate all the feedback for low tech, tips and hints because like, we're like 99% of the people listening where we're kind of budget conscious, guys, even though we're in the industry and we might get better pricing if we're buying it wholesale or whatever. Things add up quick when you're trying to accomplish something or add stuff to your kegging system. And sometimes we have to prioritize. Well, so for us, I think I can speak for you too, James. We haven't really put an emphasis on volume tracking because it hasn't been a priority over the other things that we, you know, like temperature control this or flow control that, but these low tech things make it more appealing. I'm going to probably try the tally counter first because that is the absolute dirt cheapest way. And so with a fresh keg, we'll determine, you know, my pop and I use 10 ounce to the brim glasses. So in theory, we probably would get like 70 pours from a keg. In theory, I'm not good at math. Todd isn't here to make fun of me he'd be like, no, it's actually 82. But we'll figure out the exact count on one keg of like water, do the tallies, and then boom, we'll know going forward now using the glassware everyone uses at my pop's house. Every time, oh no, we only got 12 left. And that's when I'll cut off my sister-in-law from the Kolsch. When I see it's like under 15, I will be like, hey, have you tried this other beer that we have? This one, or I'll just close down that tap because I'm not going to tell other people what the number is before it floats, but I'll know. That way I'll just cut everyone off like, no more Kolsch, no more breakfast stout. It's tapped. You can't have this. Anyways, thank you both guys for the feedback. This is a great time to remind you, if and when you leave a voicemail feedback to 325-305-6107, you get yourself a $25 gift card. I'm just throwing Todd's money out this week, $50 for these two guys. And then if you leave us a voicemail, you also get yourself a $50 gift card to Keg Connection. Like our first question, it's our buddy Travis from Katy, Texas. That's right down the road.
Hey guys, this is Travis from Katy, Texas. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on yeast dumping, and is it necessary, really as it pertains to IPAs, and dry hopping. So I have an Anvil brew bucket and a Spike Flex Plus, both which don't have obviously any yeast dumping ports. But my process for hazy IPAs is to dry hop after day 2 or 3 for the biotransformation, and then cool down to 60 degrees at like day 7, dry hop, and another 24 hours I'm cold crashing and then packaging. And usually my beers turn out fine, but they have kind of that homebrewy taste, a little bit of astringency, and the hops kind of seem like they're not present at all. And I wonder, I've done some reading, if that has to do with dry hopping while yeast is still present, and how whatever happens where they take the flavor from the hops and it doesn't make it over to the finished beer. But anyways, wanted to get your thoughts on that. If you don't brew IPAs and you still do any yeast dumping, what are the benefits of that? And go from there. But just stumbled across the podcast a few months ago and have really been enjoying the content. So keep it up, guys. Thanks.
Don't lie to us, Travis. No, we appreciate yeah, I love how I took this question when the only guy who brews IPAs is recovering from neck surgery.
Yeah.
No, but before I throw it to you, I will say I do know, and I'm going to speak on your behalf, Todd. You're drugged up. What are you going to do about it? He would tell you that he always transfers to carboys when he's going to dry hop a beer. I've observed that. I don't know if he's outright said that, but I have observed it on his IPAs and stuff. He's not done it in a vessel where the yeast is present. I've never asked him about it, but I'm like 95. I don't want to make a $5 bet because then that's going to jinx it. But I'm confident that he does that. And I'm assuming there might be a correlation. James, is there like a rule of thumb where you leave the yeast in long enough and it's going to start affecting the overall flavor? Or like, do you do styles that require you to dump, or are you doing the whole process quick?
I never did it. Well, when I was doing glass carboys and brew buckets, I would just do a secondary. So as soon as primary's done, or high krausen right after high krausen, when it's done,
right?
High krausen. Forget that I just said that. When the primary fermentation's done, if you're doing carboys or brew buckets, just move it over into another fermenter secondary, and that'll take care of that issue. But I think it has to set quite a while before it starts affecting the flavor of the beer itself. I know I have in the past when I was doing glass carboys, I'd let them set primary 2-3 weeks and then either keg it, or I would move it into a secondary to just do a little more clarification. But you got to be super, super careful to not oxidize when you're moving it over. So you want to purge anything you're putting in. It's a good idea to purge it with CO2 if you're able to do that. If you can't, it's real careful on how you move it over into the keg or secondary. Maybe that may be the astringency and all that might be just from moving it over, but typically with yeast, I think I'd read that it has to be 4+ weeks in the primary for it to affect flavor. But on an IPA, man, that thing is just banging with hops. It's got lots of stuff going on as far as flavor and taste. I think you would see that pop up more prevalent in the lighter beers, the ones that are hard to cover up any flaws, like a Kolsch, for example. That's a good example. Or a really light lager, something that you really taste anything that's out of the ordinary more so.
I know you're not, and I'm hardly ever doing styles that would call for dry hopping. Do you feel comfortable dry hopping in a singular vessel that still has the yeast in it? You wouldn't see an issue with doing that.
Okay. No. In fact, I did that Boston lager, and I dry hopped it. In fact, it's still in the conical.
I was about to ask, how's it going?
After primary fermentation's done, I just popped 4 ounces of the hops in it. I'll tell you what I did do, though, is I took a little, we have those little measuring cups. I put the hops in there and covered it with my hand, and I purged it a little with CO2, whether that made a difference or not. I just didn't like the idea of just dropping it into there. But I did add them, and I haven't noticed, I've been tasting it off the conical, and it seems to taste all right.
When you have been using vessels, pardon me, when you're pressure fermenting not in the conical, the stainless steel one, you're using an all-rounder, and our all-rounders, the ones we own, do not have the dumping feature of it. They're a smooth bottom, and so we couldn't dump the yeast in regards to like unscrewing it, keeping the other parts sealed and all that. But on the CF15 from Spike that you have, you could, you have a port, you could dump the yeast. Have you ever felt the need to dump the yeast during fermentation or going into secondary? Like because you'd use that.
Oh yeah. So I've actually used it in the past just to get rid of when we were doing those multiple pitches over New Wort just to test. It got to a point where I built so much yeast up that I needed to pull some off the bottom, and I did, but that valve's big, so you got to really be careful or you're going to blow beer all over the place. And I just hadn't had a need to dump anything in all the beers that I do. I mean, I don't think Todd does either.
I was going to say, I don't recall him doing it, but I'm hardly ever up there during the meat and potatoes of fermentation. I'm always frequently there for brew day, except lately because he was brewing like every other day. But a lot of the times I'm there for that, and a lot of the times I'm there during the kegging. I don't help in any of it, but I'm present, and I don't ever notice him or mentioning that he uses.
Yeah, I don't believe he does.
Yeah,
we have a good setup. I think ideally, what I would want to do is I would want to get another valve, big gate valve, and put it at the very end because it's got a 90 in it, and I would want to put a valve right as the 90 connects to because right now the way it is you've got the 90 attached with the tri-clamp, and then at the end of the 90 you've got the dump valve. Well, what I would want to do is during primary fermentation, I would put a valve right under the conical and then attach that 90 to it. And then, of course, you have the dump valve on the very end. And so when I'm doing primary fermentation, what I would do is I would leave the top valve open and the very farthest, or the one at the bottom at the very end of the tube, closed. And then that way, as that yeast goes dormant, it's going to float to the very bottom, which is that tube is fairly big. I want to say it's 2 inches. And all of that's going to collect in that tube. So really all you have to do is close the upper valve, unscrew it, and then just dump the yeast and then repeat the process until you can get the reason why you want to do that is over time, what I've run into, it doesn't matter which conical it is. One, because we only have one valve on the spike, you've got to be real careful opening it up. And what happens is that yeast is at the bottom, but that liquid's wanting to burrow through the yeast and get out of that valve. So what happens is you probably end up, initially, you're going to get a blob of yeast, but you're going to end up getting just as much wort as you would yeast because of the way it's designed. So I think that if you added another valve and you were able to leave that open and let that fall down naturally on its own, then you just close the valve and then that whole tube is yeast. So it's a lot cleaner, and you're not most importantly, you're not wasting beer.
I was going to say, that sounds like the most efficient way to minimize waste. Yeah, I like that.
And I don't know. Let me look up and see. He said he had a Plex.
He has an Anvil brew bucket and a Spike Flex Plus, if Google transcription is correct, which we know sometimes it's laughably wrong. But it did say Anvil brew bucket and Spike Flex Plus, which the Plus is the better model. That's the one Todd has at the ranch, or maybe y'all have it there. No, he took it to the ranch, I believe.
And I see that Flex doesn't have a dump valve on the bottom, does it?
No,
I'm
it
looking at
doesn't.
a picture of it.
Correct.
So it's going to be harder to do with that.
Right.
So what I would tell him is it's going to settle down in the conical part of that Flex. So just due diligence, get it out of there if you feel really edgy about that, move it into you could even move it into a keg purged with CO2 because of the Flex.
Oh yeah.
It has the gate.
Yeah. Would you'd feel comfortable dry hopping in a keg? Would you maybe cut the dip tube an inch up if you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, if you're gonna consistently dry hop in the keg that you're serving from, you got to make some adjustments so that you don't clog up the dip tube. I'm assuming.
Right. Or go online and find a floating dip tube. I think More Beer sells them.
They do.
Then you can connect it up, and you can use a keg makes a perfect secondary.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact that you can pressure it up and you can move it, even if you wanted to move it through a filter, which we will get one of that video done one of these days. But if you wanted to run a filter from that keg to the final keg, you have the ability to do a hands-off, purge it, no oxidation, move it through a filter if you like, with pressure. So you're letting the CO2 do the work, and you just sit back and watch it fill up. So that might be what he needs to do.
Real quick to expand on the question, because Todd's not here again to call me out. It wasn't a short answer already, but just thought exercise, because I'm the village idiot. Do you think, what is the point, is the main point of dumping yeast to prevent off flavors from it, or to harvest?
That's that, and get it out for harvest too.
So both. The answer is both.
Reasons.
Okay, because I always wondered, because I was like, I've never dumped, and I've never had a reason to believe the lack of dump caused any issues on my brews. And also, I've never harvested. You're the only one of us three who has done that, right? In regards to harvesting and reusing. And that Kolsch, I know you said the fifth generation had some degradation. I thought it was fantastic, but I could see where you were going, because it was getting different, and you were like, I don't want to push it another generation because you don't want to dump it.
So much volume of yeast in the fermenter. I needed to get a lot of that dormant and bad yeast out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes a difference.
But anyways, Travis, thank you so much, first off, for being a new member of the community and for tuning in, but also for calling in and getting yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. If you text that same number, 325-305-6107, or go to homebrewhappyhour.com and use the submission link at the top of the page, or submit a question link at the top of the page, you get yourself a $15 gift card. Like our second question, our buddy OJ sent us a text, and he wrote, my brew pal comes over to my place and complains that I overcarbonate my beer. I think the levels are perfect. Can you take CO2 readings like you would FG, which is final gravity, on a beer? It's an interesting question, James, that OJ wrote. First off, thank you, OJ, for texting us. Get new friends, man. No, tell him to be happy that you're giving him beer. How dare your friend come to your house and criticize? No, it's probably friendly scrutiny. He said it's his brew pal. Todd has accused both of us at various points of our life of overcarbonating our beer. And I've ever since kind of started undercarbonating, because my limited wisdom, James, is that I can undercarb and go up easier than I can overcarb and come down. So
sure.
First question, is there tools that are accessible to homebrewers to take CO2 readings? And I don't even know what a adequate CO2 reading should be on like,
there's definitely carbonation testers. We've had them. I've sold them to mainly breweries, but Taproot makes the ones that we sell. But if you go on, and let's just do something real quick. I'm going to do a quick search because they're wonderful tools. Let's see what they show. Because the one that I sell, it's more commercial grade. So it's going to be pretty expensive.
Oh yeah, we do have people in our audience that I'm always surprised when they tell us their setups, like the forced carbonating machines. Is it McCann's? And then I'm like, oh my god, that's like a $5,000 piece of equipment. Like, yeah, but it makes it so much easier. Like, that's fantastic.
Both Lancer and Taproot sell those. I had a soda one because for some reason the soda carbonation tester was cheaper than the beer.
Really?
The beer soda, the beer carbonation tester comes in this cool little briefcase, and it's got instructions. It's really nice, but that thing's like $500. But I tested the soda one I had just for the heck of it, and it showed me the level, which I'm always trying to shoot for 2.5 volumes of CO2. And I want to say you can get these for like, around $100 if you look around. And that'd be a good item to go on eBay and look. But they do make carbonation testers. And what you do is you've got a little bottle with a air gauge and a thermometer and a purge valve on it. So you fill it up to the line. There's a line that says fill the liquid up to. And you seal it up and shake the crap out of it. And there's a chart that gives you the temperature and the pressure it's reading, and it'll tell you exactly how many. It's really cool, and it'll tell you how many volumes of CO2 are in that liquid. So I don't really think you need that. I think that what I do is I tend to undercarbonate it a little bit, and then when I take it home, hook it up, put it on 10 to 12 PSI, and over time it will gradually get there. But over carbonation, that's pretty easy to do. I went through a round of it years ago where that's all I would do. So I've learned to just undercarb it, but you need to be, if you're forced carbonate, you need to be right there tasting it, go a minute or two. I set it at 30 PSI. I don't know what pressure you use, Josh, but 30. I'll do 30 PSI every 2 minutes. And then I'll taste it and see how I'll taste it and look at how it's coming into the glass. So if it's really, really foamy, then I just stop.
Right.
And then I'll hook it up, let it finish on its own. And that's generally a good rule of thumb.
So Todd's always like, I follow, my pop and I follow the instructions of his video that we have at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. And it gets thousands of views. People like it, but Todd wanted to add to it. And this is a step I just started doing with the Kolsch I brewed at my house and kegged and all that myself. This is the first time I did it. I need to take an event faucet, a CM Becker event faucet, to my pops if he doesn't have one already, because that's the best purpose for that device is forced carbing on my gas post and then tasting off of, or pardon me, vice versa. I actually, no, I do. All right. I switch them off. I force carb on my liquid post, and then I take it off. I put my the event faucet from Sam Becker and taste it in real time is what I do with that Kolsch. It was the easiest way for me to get the level where I wanted it and know it was there without guessing, just like guessing, put it on tap and hope that it comes out right. The event faucet allowed it. And we've had listeners write in and they use the standard Cobra or the picnic taps, the plastic ones. You can't put 30 PSI in your keg and have a pour that's not just water,
you need compensation.
You have to have compensation.
Those event faucets have a compensator inside, so they work real good.
That makes
simple to use. Just screw on that, and until you get the right flow, and you can be 30, 40 PSI on the keg.
Exactly.
You can still dispense at regular volume. Won't blow the beer glass out of your
hands down, the CMB event, and I'm sounding like a salesman right now. Hands down, the best gadget I have for bang for your buck is that CM Becker event faucet. Period. And I think you're out of stock of them right now. So
we got some in yesterday.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm talking it up and it's going to be in the show notes and people are going to be like, it's out of stock. They do go quick though. Sometimes we get on a kick and sell them out and then we got to wait for more from Germany. But the best piece of gear you can own, my friend, if you're kegging not just for the forced carboning. That it's great. I don't have a drilled out kegerator. Last week I threw him under the bus. Todd had promised me one, and then he took it away from me, like almost in the same 3-day period. He was like, yeah, I got a kegerator you can use. And then, oh, by the way, I can't give that to you. Not bitter at all. But I have to open my fridge door to tap off my kegs. That event faucet makes it stupid easy because it's true flow control. That thing is actually full size, not knocking competitors, Perlick or whatever. But this is real flow control going on. So it's true compensation to where if my keg was a little overcarbonated, I can restrict it so much and slow down the pour and not just have a glass full of foam. It's fantastic. It makes pouring a lot easier. The picnic taps and all that do work when stuff's balanced, but a lazy man of time efficiency like myself really enjoys the CM Becker event faucet. I will stop talking it up, making this an infomercial. But to wrap up OJ's question, eBay, you said there are machines. If you're literally trying to get a CO2 reading,
yeah, just Google it. You'll see it.
You'll find it.
There's probably good videos on YouTube where you can see how to use it.
Yeah.
If you're like me, you like to watch a video versus read.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's lots of resources. The only things are a little expensive, so it may be something that you may just have to have it change your process,
right?
Or find another friend.
Yeah,
either one.
Yeah, or both.
Or both.
And that's like I said. I think we're in consensus to wrap this up that undercarb. If you really do think you're overcarbing, start undercarbing first, and then slowly working your way up to the level you want. You will find it much more enjoyable. And undercarbonated beer is not, to me, as disappointing for my own batches. Not talking about if I'm trying someone's, just because I know, like, oh crap, I'm purge this keg, let it sit. It's just the carbonic acid almost just leaves a signature that is hard to get out when it's so much of it, So undercarbing and building up. And some people do. They get so scared they put it at serving pressure and leave it there for a week to let it build up. People have their own methods, and that's a great time to solicit feedback. What do you do to ensure the perfect carbonation with every batch that you keg? And if you bottle, I don't want to hear from you. No, I'm kidding. If you bottle, and tell us, I put one firm cap in and I do this or whatever. But OJ, thank you so much for submitting the question. James, I've got one final question for us. It's another voicemail. Got himself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. It's our buddy John from Pennsylvania.
Hi, Josh. Love the podcast. Love the banter back and forth between all of you. I have a question about, I use a mash and boil, and it has made life a lot easier. I have started using a bag inside my mash and boils malt pipe, just to eliminate excessive trub. I use a hop spider. I pull this stuff out, boil off, and I have recently bought a distillery lid for this unit, and I am fermenting right in the same unit. I mash in, I boil off, and I ferment. And so far, things have tasted really good. Is there any harm of doing all this in one unit? It is so simple, and it's made my life easier. Can you give me some feedback on whether this will hurt anything? Thank you. My name is John.
I was muted. Thank you, John. I think he left more information than just his name. But anyways, John, that is a great question and a good topic to talk, because the only thing, the first thought I have with fermentation on it, would that technically be an open fermentation, or do mash and boils have a sealed lid?
Yeah, it's got a sealed lid, but I mean, it's not going to be anything that, it would definitely be, it's not going to hold air.
Right.
So you can, it will enough for fermentation. I wouldn't be.
You wouldn't be scared to ferment.
Yeah, I wouldn't be scared to use it that way. That's a great idea. Using the bag, you can pull the hop, all that trub and grain out.
I was going to say
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Ultimately, the response is, dude, keep doing what's working for you, because we're big proponents of that. I wonder.
The cool thing about that is that once it's done, you got a pump. You can pump into the fermenter.
Oh,
I mean, keg.
Into the keg. You're right. No, you could. That is something.
Yeah, and you could attach with a liquid disconnect to the pump, given it, if it's powerful enough, then you can purge your keg, vent it, and then start filling it from the mash and bowl with the pump supplied, and then you're done. That's a hands-off transfer.
Here's one downside I just thought of. Mr. Todd Burns brewing every other day. You can't do that if your vessel's taken up with fermentation. That's the only downside that really is glaring to me, is that your equipment for brewing is going to be preoccupied throughout the process. So you are committing to 2 weeks on the high end, right?
Yeah, that machine's tied up.
That machine is going to be tied up.
Yeah.
But it did.
That's definitely a negative con for that setup. But if a lot of people don't brew as much as we do.
Absolutely.
And they're only 5 gallons will last them a good long while.
That's yep.
And so maybe it doesn't make a difference for him because he's only brewing as he needs to. So, having that machine idle with beer in it or wort turning into beer probably works just fine for him, but it wouldn't for me.
I was going to say, it's so fun. Like, sometimes I get disconnected in my own little bubble of like how I brew, or specifically like how we, the three of us, where Todd would say, well, I want to be able to brew when I want to brew. So his solution is buying more fermentation vessels, right? Whether it's the all-rounders or the Anvil Fermenter King, or
even just plastic
fermenting buckets. Todd does not like being told what to do in regards to my equipment's taken up. Baloney. I'm going to brew because I want to brew. But there's a lot of people who write in and they brew. We have a lot of recipe receiving Chub Club members who that's all they brew is our kit every month, and they're still backlogged sometimes because it's just them. Like, I've helped connect some in some states with homebrew clubs that are like, hey, I'm new to brewing. I like the idea of curated recipes, but I also want to form a community, and we connect people with because thankfully, like the AHA has a good database, but I happen to have a good database from just the years of being in the industry, where there is a lot of homebrew clubs I can connect people with and be like, you're in this area? Yeah, these are good guys, whatever. What I'm getting at though is a guy like John is not unique in regards to, I just brew for myself, maybe my wife and I, and 5 gallons can go a long time. We're weekend drinkers or whatever. So that my con of his setup isn't actually a con as much as I kind of wish I thought of it first. I don't know if I do that because I have the equipment for fermenting and all that, but I have considered using a bag for cleanup's sake. I will say that with the G40. Because it seems like it would help so much. When I'm done brewing, just pull that thing out and it's done. And then the hop spider too is a great idea. Again, with cleanup and just anything to shorten the cleaning process. Guys, have I mentioned on the show I don't like cleaning, but it's
I don't think too many people do.
I know, right? Todd, when I'm there, air quotes for audio listeners, helping Todd brew, my help is usually contributed through cleaning. He's like, okay, take this out there and clean. I'm like, or he'll have me drive the grains down to the chickens, and maybe I take half an hour to 45 minutes to do that task. He's like, what were you doing? Oh, it was heavy, Todd. Are you done cleaning? No, you're not done. But no, I'm going to revert back to the first thing I said, and we'll wrap this up, James. Do what works for you. I think that's fantastic that it is working out good for him. The beer is great, and he doesn't seem to have a problem keeping his vessel tied up during that whole process. It seems like a win-win for him.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah,
it's got you make use of that pump after brewing, and then you don't have to worry about oxidizing anything, or just make sure, we can't stress this enough, wherever it's going in, please purge it with CO2, because there's nothing worse than spending all that money and time and energy to make a good beer taste like cardboard.
And then taste like cardboard. That ain't the truth. But anyways, John.
I've done it too.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. The ESB my pop and I tried to brew years ago, I messed up by splashing. But that's neither here nor there. John, thank you so much for submitting the question. James, I appreciate you setting aside the time.
You bet.
Really appreciate you. I'm going to be up there, I think, next week. So when I'm there, I'll catch you then, my friend.
Sounds good.
All right.
See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or you can call and be Todd's best friend and get yourself a $25 gift card when you call 325-305 6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton's, give them a try by visiting txbrewing.com or visit or join our Chub Club rather at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial Yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Chub Club. Go to patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour and come brew with us. On behalf of the recovering Todd Burns, the handsome James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.